Hello there and welcome to Peter's Model Corner. On today's menu we have this 1/72 scale case vac from Thunder Model. Now unfortunately I have indeed lost footage of me unboxing this kit. However, the good news is that this kit includes two little tractors. So next time I will get around to building the second one, I will do proper unboxing so we know what's in the kit. However, for now this is a diorama video anyway, so what you need to know is that the kit went together really nicely. I really enjoyed the assembly, nothing had problems fitting or anything, and the detail for a plastic kit of this size is quite remarkable. Of course, in resin it could probably be better, hint hint. However, for now, this is a really nice little kit. You can see me here applying some photo etch that is for the floor on underneath the, well, I guess you could call it cab, but also this tractor doesn't have a cab, and it's quite unique for my collection as it's one of those freewheel American tractors, which I do really love because they are so unique. Also, you get some included rubber tires, everything like that, so it's a really nice kit and I would definitely recommend it if you're a lover of tractors, and also the fact that there are basically no tiny little tractors in this scale. As always, I use Tamiya Extra Thin Cement that's quick drying to assemble this model, and it's just so damn tiny that I didn't know how to record it because you could only see my fingers. It really does fit just into the palm of my hand. Anyway, I guess it's time to start painting it. As always, I start by priming the model with Vallejo Mecha Black Primer. This is probably my favorite primer because it just sprays really nicely, the coverage is quite decent, and I am able to spray it in the first place because I am not using the most high quality compressor. Therefore, I do struggle to spray too thick colors through the airbrush, and therefore I have to really dilute everything, and then it's hard to spray, but this primer really does not give me much issues while spraying. So I covered the entire tiny tractor with it just to have one unified color. Red is not the most usual color that I use on tanks, so I only had one red shade, and that was Vermilion from Vallejo acrylic range. So I just diluted it with AK acrylic thinner, and I started layering it on in thin layers across the entire vehicle. Something I never expect, but it always happens when I spray red, is that it doesn't have the best coverage, especially over black, so it needed 3 layers of continuous spraying until I was happy with the result. However, there was still some black showing through, but that will be fixed with some post shading, which we will do right now. Post shading is a technique that is used by many modelers, including me, to give some interest and 3 dimensions to the model. Think of it like painting a picture but in 3 dimensions. So essentially what it is adding highlights to all the highlighted areas on the model. Now you do this by taking a lighter version of your color. Here I simply added some white to the paint, which is kind of a problem because that makes more of a pink than light red, but pink is somewhat of a light red. It is really hard to lighten a red color, and I always struggled with it. Anyway, my technique for how to apply this is, first of all, I dilute it so it doesn't speckle anywhere, and for me, when the part that I'm spraying is horizontal, I spray towards the upper part of the, well, toward the upper area of the part where the light would shine, and if it's a vertical part I spray from the top and towards the middle of a panel. It would be easiest to show on a square, however this is quite a complex little model. One thing that always annoyed me with these tractors in general was that the engine wasn't a different color than the tractor itself, so I didn't have a perfect way to specify what is what. However, with such a tiny model, I just did everything in red. This just simply made the most sense, according to my references at least. You can push the contrast that you make with these highlight colors quite far. For example, if I'm doing a grey tank, it almost goes into white, that's how far I go. This will be toned down with weathering and washes later down the line, so I prefer overdoing it so it's actually visible and the model doesn't look too black, or well, not too black but too dark, because when something is smaller, the shadows act different on it and it looks darker. Detail painting came next. Using a thin brush, I started picking out all the tiny details. For example, rusty areas got a base layer of brown, like this exhaust for example. And then all the tiny details got some different paints according to references, different kinds of browns, blacks and whites. These went over the stuff like the starter motor or the fuel caps and stuff like that, just how I saw it in the reference pictures. I painted the discs white. On references it showed quite a few different colors as far as I remember, but white seemed to be quite a nice contrast with the red and just to bring some more interest. So I carefully painted it, again with the thin brush. Once I painted the tires in dark grey, I completely varnished the model with VMS flat varnish. I let it dry and then I started applying the enamel wash. I used a Emo dark brown wash, diluted with Abteilung 502 odorless thinner. I diluted it really heavily because I really didn't want it to overpower the tiny details. I started applying it with a really tiny brush around all of the details that I wanted picked out. As you can see, it's a really powerful technique that makes the model look sort of HD, but also as you can see, it tinted the model to be darker, and that's why I overdid the post. What would an old tractor be without a lot of old rusty chips? I took my thinnest brush and I started painting those on. I used Vallejo Panzer Aces Dark Rust. For this, I had to be really careful, because you have to think about how big a human is compared to this vehicle, and if I think about my old chipping, how I did it back then, if I look at those chips and imagine a human next to them, I realized that the chip is bigger than the human's head. And of course, I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but not on an operational vehicle. I think it would be more common on a destroyed old, or just an old vehicle somewhere rusting away. And I want this tractor to be portrayed as still in use, just resting for the autumn. So I tried my best not to overdo the chips. Of course I did in some places, because it is really hard with even the thinnest brush I had. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with the result. I do think they gave the model quite a lot more life and interest. Last effect was some enamel dust. I didn't want this tractor to be muddy, just dusty, as if it was just stood somewhere instead of currently in use. That is something I will do some other time on some other tractor. So I used AK enamel Africa dust effects. I just simply applied them wherever I felt like it would look good, especially on the tires and on the bottom of the vehicle. With these effects applied, blended, and whatever else made them look good, I think the tractor was basically considered done by me, and it was ready for the little display base or diorama or whatever you want to call it. Rightio, so if you remember that tiny little bucket diorama I did in summer, I think, I was pretty happy with the idea and I really liked the idea, so I found this little box in a local dollar store and I decided that this will be perfect for a diorama with this tiny little tractor. So I stuffed it with some foam just so there is some basis, and I used VMS matte paste to create the groundwork. Once the ground had dried, I started adding some details. For example, I started making a little fence and also this little pile of wooden planks that I then added some 3D printed pumpkins to, which I had way too many of, and I thought it would bring some nice little detail to the diorama. Also, I used ammo fine bush to create this tree. That will be just on the side of the diorama to bring some more, I don't know, just height, I suppose, and to make it look less empty. Once I fitted everything around how I wanted, as you can see I added some little animals, I decided to add foliage. This was done with some self-adhesive grass tufts, also some ordinary static grass that I applied with tweezers, and also the fine bush was then used to create even more, well, this time bushes, not trees. I checked the setup one final time about just to see how it'll look, where I will put the doggo and the sheep that I will paint in just a little bit, and once I was happy with this, I removed all the separate pieces and I started priming it with the same black that I primed the tractor with. Priming like this will create sort of fake shadows all around the diorama, and once it starts getting some colors in, it'll look more three-dimensional and realistic. At least that's what I hope for. I tried this already a few times and it looked pretty good. And I also added some white highlights to the animals, just as you would with figures, because I never actually painted animals, so I was curious how I will approach this. So here I just applied the highlights and I started painting the ground. First layer was just some ordinary brown. I absolutely have no idea what brown this is. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, and my monkey brain didn't think about writing it down, but from the video I assume it's probably NATO brown from AK 3rd Gen colors. This was kind of just a basic layer that was ultimately kind of useless because I started painting the grass, and with the grass getting painted everything got colored in green. As you can see, the black primer sort of created nice shadows for the grass and it made it look way deeper, like there's way more grass than there actually is. I started layering on some different shades of green. Of course I wanted this diorama to be set in autumn, so the green kind of went into the pale category of grass. As you can see, I really have no idea what I was doing. I was just lightening the green I had in airbrush and painting more and more highlights until I was relatively happy with how it looked. and then I took some buff and I started repainting the ground again, so everything is blended together. As you can see here, everything having the same base black and then getting a coat of color makes it look like one single thing, as opposed to if I just painted the ground and then I used the grass stuffs, which is what I did in my house diorama with the T54. The grass kind of just looked out of place because it wasn't painted, it looked kinda cheap, and that's not really what I want. Going over with the NATO brown again, it does really put all the groundwork together to make it look rather realistic. I was really happy with the result by this point. While I had the brown in my airbrush, I started base coating the tree as well. Or well, I already added some green to the tree, but now I started adding the autumn colors, so for example some reds and some light reds because I lightened the red, and also some bright oranges that I added all over the tree, or well, the part of the tree that's supposed to be leaves. And I also started adding it to the grass just to again complete the look together and to make it look like there's sort of fallen leaves. And I know I could have bought some 72nd scale leaves. I probably kind of oversimplified the effect here with just painting the fallen leaves in a way, but that's something that I will keep in mind for the next time I'll do something similar. I decided to come back with some green again just to make it look a little more like greenery. This really put some life into the foliage, and then with some buff I made the ground sort of match the tractor with the dusty shades. It's time to start painting the Spookstone fan art. This tiny doggo was 3D printed. I downloaded it from Colts and Saints it down. Looking at references like Fourier Rule 34, I start painting the doggo in a buff color, considering that this is meant to represent a German Shepherd, and if you look at reference pictures, you can see that German Shepherds have sort of a buff undercoat of the fur on the bottom parts of their bellies and stuff like that. So that's what I try to do here. Of course, buff isn't the easiest paint to do, so it needed quite a few layers before I was satisfied with the result. Once that was applied, it was time to start applying the brown shade of the fur. This was applied around the upper parts of the legs and on the neck and basically the entire head. Do I need to explain this? I mean, it's just how the dog is in real life, and I don't know dog body parts in English, because I'm just a silly slough, and that's the only character trait that I have. The last paint I then added was some black on his back and on his head, around his eyes and his snout, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out for such a tiny little doggo. Of course, I would love to hear what you wanna say about him. But with this same technique, I then painted the sheep just with different shades of off-white and white, and also I used some pink for her nose, and it was time to set them into the scene. I painted the pumpkins with some orange just to, obviously pick them out and have them nicely detailed and stand out, because they are kind of one of the main parts of the diorama, the main idea. I painted some fake leaves all around the diorama because I didn't have any three-dimensional ones, but the paint, it works pretty well in such tiny scale, especially when it's in the shadow of the tree. After peeling off all of the tape, which is something my victims wish I did for them, I tinted the overall sides of the little box with some brown wash, which I think really brought out the old looking. Like, it looks sort of like an old box with a world inside of it, which is something I was going for. And with this dry, the diorama was now finished, and we can go to the final spinny bit. Right, so Peter has finished his another disaster. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. It is quite cute and small, and I think it's a nice idea, but of course you are the judge of that as the viewer, so please let me know down in the comment what you thought about this diorama. Happy New Year, and I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. It is now 2025. I can't believe it, honestly. I hate that it's been 5 years since 2020, but we need to push forward. I want this year to be good for this channel. I wanna make more videos, make more models, get rid of my huge fucking stash, and there is quite a lot of news that I can't wait to share with you all. So I hope you take care of each other and take care of yourself for this year. I hope there is a lot of great things awaiting you and this channel as a whole. So I hope you will stay here with me, help me grow. So again, thank you so much for watching for the entirety of the last year, and for what you will mean for me this year. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.